contested lease sale areas is the Chukchi Sea of Alaska, which was opened for drilling under Bush, offered for leasing in February 2008, an action that was almost universally condemned by Democrats in Congress, condemned by Obama himself. Yet that area, yesterday, Obama embraced it as we will allow it to go forward. Shell Oil has plans to drill in the area this summer. To date, Ken Salazar, Obama's Secretary of Interior, has rubber-stamped Shell's approval each step of the way. We're fighting them in court. But Shell will be the first beneficiary of this. But I think the other beneficiary of this is those on the right, those in the Republican Party, those who are attached to the fossil fuel industry, who've once again been affirmed that if they scream loud enough, if they put enough pressure on Obama, things that were supposedly core principles of his, things that he promised at certain points during the campaign, those will all readily be sacrificed with just a simple bit of criticism from the right. So I think those who believe that they can continue to push Obama to the right had a lot to cheer yesterday because they succeeded.
Now, what about the areas that he declared off limits? Bristol Bay in Alaska, also the entire coastline of California was declared off limits by Obama. Could you talk about some of the reasoning behind those decisions?
Yes, California is pretty straightforward. It's politically untenable to open up new areas in California for drilling, and so that was never truly on the table. At the tail end of the Bush administration, Bush's Interior Secretary Dirk Kempthorne proposed to open California for drilling really as a straw man because everyone knew it wasn't actually going to be opened up, but it let Obama claim that he was removing areas for drilling. Bristol Bay is a much more interesting case. This is an area off Alaska. It's home to the most endangered large whale in the world, the North Pacific right whale, which there's perhaps fewer than 50 remaining individuals of this species of whale in this area of the Bering Sea off Alaska. This area is also home to one of our most productive fisheries in the United States. Whenever you hear of wild Alaska salmon, it probably came from Bristol Bay. And there was tremendous pressure to drill in this area, but there also was tremendous organizing by the environmental community, by the local communities in the Bristol Bay region, by the fishermen. And Bristol Bay is a nice example of, even given the politics of Alaska, given all the pressure to drill, folks who were opposed to drilling, that whether they cared about endangered whales or their livelihoods as fishermen, organized and were able to put up enough political pressure that even the Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who has positioned herself as enemy number one against climate regulation, she had to concede that drilling in Bristol Bay was a bad idea. So that is the one bright spot, but it only happened because people very vocally pushed for the protection of that area and set forth that drilling there was clearly unacceptable. And hopefully we'll see similar movements like that form elsewhere in the country in areas that are now going to be on the table for drilling.
I'm looking at Phil Radford's quote. He's executive director of Greenpeace, who said, "Is this President Obama's clean energy plan or Palin's drill, baby, drill campaign?" On the other hand, I was watching Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, applauding President Obama. Lindsey Graham, the senator, said, "I appreciate the president's apparent willingness to consider offshore drilling as part of the administration's energy policy." Do you think he's doing this so soon after signing the health care bill as a kind of salve to reach out to those that he feels he alienated?
I think that's very much part of it. He's briefly in a window of popularity where the folks who expected him to bring change who've been disappointed for the past year, have a glimmer of hope with the health care bill, as flawed as that may be. So there is some time for political cover for a bad announcement. I think it was also tied into the timing of certain things. One, a pure legal deadline to make a new finding on the Bush-era plan. Also, we're entering the point in the climate debate in the Senate where the Kerry Lieberman-Graham bill, which would, if it passed, past do similar things, sacrifice large areas to offshore drilling as a political trade-off to get a cap-and-trade scheme in place. That's slowly starting to gain momentum, and I think this announcement was in that context of the Obama administration saying, yes, we're willing to deal. We're willing to give the oil industry what it wants in exchange for getting something. Unfortunately, the announcement yesterday is unclear whether it will get anything positive in return in terms of clean energy policies. As it looks to me, it's essentially just a giveaway to the oil industry and to the critics of Obama who say he's not doing enough for that oil industry.
Brendan Cummings, we're going to leave it there, Public Lands Director of the Center for Biological Diversity, speaking to us from the desert in California. This is Democracy Now! We'll be back in a minute.